Good afternoon, everybody. Eric Foster, Com- Common Sense by Eric Foster, founder. You know, something that really rankles me is our corporate community, especially our investor community in Wall Street. When I was a child growing up, I was a big fan of the investment community and watching what happened on Wall Street. I was the black version of Alex Keaton from Family Ties. As a kid, I would read the business section. I would look at the stocks, the future exchanges, the commodities, and the like. And I still do that to this day. Actually, that was my first love professionally is institutional finance and economics. And that's where I wanted to work in coming up in life. I always wanted to be that person that was an institutional securities trader and broker who was at that international level. But that's not where God intended for me to be. But I still watch it, consume information, and keep a full interest in it. But what I've seen that we have right now is a different type of investor class than we did when I was growing up in the 70s and the 80s. And it seems like it's a repeat of the investor class that we had in the 1920s. You know, reading the book 1929 by Aaron Ross Sorkin was a positive eye opener, but it also was very helpful to understand that the investor class is not made up of the most salient people in the world. And so, to that point, when I look at what we're facing right now, just the volatility in the market and the ease of market manipulation by the person who's occupying the White House, by political events, by a tweet or social media post or an offhand comment, a hint, a rumor, anything like that, it tells me that our economic systems and the leaders within our economic systems are not taking a step back and making foundational decisions based on data. So let's break this down into real terms. All right, you have a job, you're making money, you get an email from this Nigerian prince telling you that, hey, I got $2 million for you, but I need you to send me 5,000 so I can take care of the transfer tax and other fees, and then I can get it to you. Are you going to respond to that email and think, ooh, I can pick up $2 million? Hopefully not. But it's kind of the same mindset that I see when I look at our institutional investors and investment community and the way that they make decisions. So, for example, we're at war with Iran as a country, us, Israel, and Iran. It's impacting the global markets, not just for oil, but for a whole host of other commodities and industrial activity. So it's kind of like if you have a job and all of a sudden you break your leg and you're not able to go into work like you used to, and you're on short term disability. A lot of things are going to be interrupted. You know, those travel plans you might have had, that big expense you were looking at making, there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be impacted, and you're not going to be able to do everything that you want to do. You know, that's kind of how things work out. So, what you're left with is how do you make decisions? How do you budget your money? How do you make sure you can survive through the process of short-term and long-term disability, the connection is right now, because of the uncertainty, the world's economy has got a broken leg, and it's trying to figure out how's it going to make do. But in trying to figure out how it's going to make do, it's making a whole lot of bad decisions. You know, it's deciding, ooh, I'm going to buy this timeshare in Florida right now while I'm on disability. Or, you know what? I'm going to spend $1,000 on lottery tickets because the Mega Millions is at $1 billion and I might win a ticket. It's that type of approach and mentality that I see when I look at how the investors are making decisions. So, in this war, going back to the microwave mentality, so the person occupying the White House makes a statement yesterday saying that we're having, well, first a social media post and then a statement. We're having conversations with the Iranians and it's good, and we might be able to resolve this within a week. Okay. A prudent investor, a prudent money manager, a prudent institutional securities trader, the type that I saw coming up and studied when I was a child and looked at, would not make a decision based on a social media post to get excited and tell their investors to buy or to sell or to hold. They wouldn't make any sort of decision based on that. They would actually fucking wait because you need a lot more information. Who is talking from the other side? Have we been able to verify that information? What would contours look like of talks? Who's handling conversations from the American side? Are there any nuclear experts that are part of the conversations from the American side? What does this look like in terms of production and getting oil production back into capacity? What's the downstream effects for the industries that depend on the shipping of oil and the economies that depend on the shipping of oil, who are struggling right now because the oil is used for energy, powering electric plants, et cetera. So you've got countries all around the globe who are having to conserve energy, they're having rolling blackouts, et cetera. You need a lot more data than somebody posting some shit on social media. And that's going to be, oh, great, we're good now. No, you're not. You're not good. You don't know anything. And so then there's a press conference where the reporters, especially Caitlin Collins, thank God, actually asked real, tangible questions. And to the reporting class, the White House press pool, please start asking real questions and start pushing back on BS and push back with facts on BS. But that being said, Caitlin and them actually did push back. And you could see the man making up things and conjuring ideas from an imaginary place, not rooted in business reality. Then you have the Iranian government that comes out and says, we're not having any conversations. And so then the market starts regressing. So he makes this post and then talks about it in a press gaggle. Markets react positively. Then Iran comes out and contradicts him, says we're not having any conversations, which honestly is probably true. And then markets go down. When I was a kid, the people that ran the companies like Morgan Stanley and Lehman Brothers and other institutional securities firms, They actually looked at information and made decisions based off of a long range view of inputs and outputs. Break it down to layman terms. It's January 2026. You have a house, a family, and you're trying to decide based on your house and your family, how are you going to make it through the rest of the year and maybe take a vacation, maybe get ahead on your mortgage payment so you can save some of the interest, planning for school activities for the rest of this school year, the summer with your kids, and then the next school year. You're trying to make all these decisions of how you're going to handle the rest of the year. You need as much information about stability of your job, any other income you might have coming in, any any bills that might pop up that would be major bills that would take from your resources, any maintenance you need to do in the house, car repairs, etc. You need as much information as you can get so you can actually plan for the upcoming year. When I was a parent, well, I'm still a parent, but when my children were children instead of adults, for Xavier and Jamil would have been an adult if he was still here. You, we made and looked at the beginning of the year what's going to come up during the rest of the year and tried to make decisions. They didn't always make the best decisions, but we tried to make decisions based on information. And so when I see Wall Street, and it's been an epidemic during both the first Trump regime and this current regime, and then even during the Biden administration, where the decisions of Wall Street were not made based on long term data and information and proper forecasting. They make decisions on whims, rumors, thoughts, suggestions. It's like fucking high school. So my critique and criticism is that's got to stop. Captains of industry have to actually start, and the institutional investor and trader and commodity communities need to take a step back and stop making decisions based on a social media post, offhanded comment at a press conference, one earnings report, rumor about some sort of conversations on an issue that might be affecting a region from a geopolitical standpoint, and start making full decisions based on a full suite of information and data. And then also stop rewarding short termism and rumor and innuendo. Start rewarding innovation, investment in human capital, investment in infrastructure for making products or for creating goods. Well, not goods, I'm sorry, because that's products, creating services that are intangible and tangible, but are services. And the leadership in the businesses, be it small businesses and large corporate businesses, that actually are competent. There used to be a time where Wall Street, before I was born, used to make decisions based on vision of growing a business, sales growth, investment, labor stability, the growth of the consumer base and the stabilization and consistency of income growth, things that help close the wealth gap, but were also longer term plays to make decisions. Now, the investment community and the traders and the like are making decisions just willy nilly. And the willy nilliness of that hurts the ability for not only your own personal investment to be able to grow in a consistent, sustainable rate, but also for us to have stability in at least the economic community and the economic decisions that we're making. That's a failing. And we've got to get away from this sporadic, making it up as you go along. I saw something that my cousin told me, and we're going to now all of a sudden start selling a large volume of shares, or we're going to start buying a large volume of shares of a company because of a rumor I heard of something that might be happening later today at 3 o'clock. I don't know for sure, but let's jump on it. That's like getting married to the woman you met in Vegas, and y'all had a good night at the casino tables and a good night drinking, and y'all decide to go to the Elvis wedding chapel and get married by a minister Elvis. Stop it. Stop it. We're in crisis. You, as business leaders, have a job to do that actually can be helpful, but you've got to start making actual decisions that are based on real information, based on the long term view, no short termism, and get back to the core of investing in innovation, in human capital, in stable, consistent wage growth and investment in people, investment in infrastructure to strengthen the service outputs and the production capacity for products, and look 5, 10 year vision of how things may be and make prudent, salient, reasoned decisions. Because the from the stock market to the commodities like oil and others, this crazed volatility, this bipolarness of the marketplace, it's not good for anybody. So my grandma Foster, because my grandma White, she was a lot nicer than my grandma Foster, but my grandma Foster would say to this type of frantic, manic behavior, sit your ass down and get your ass together. Corporate community, institutional community, sit your ass down and get your shit together so that we can actually see you lead in responsible ways. Or if you're not capable, hire the people who are capable, because I'm sure there are a lot of people who are more capable than the Nepo babies and others. Bring them to the table, give them the opportunity, and let them help you make money and help others make money. You know, so much going on in the world, so much short termism, so much emergency, and we heard something, so let's, rise up or go down or get happy or get depressed or we don't know. Guys, sit your ass down and get your shit together. Wise words from my grandma, Julia Althemise Mary Maria Green Howard Foster. Yes, she has 7 names. And her grandson, who she raised, who then raised 2 sons. Please get it together, because this is not working. This volatility, you should be able to forecast like a year out where we are from an energy dynamic, and then make proper decisions based on that, so that instead of having these wild spikes, there's some strategy and consistency as to how do we manage today Plan for the next 6 months, the next year, the next 2 years, and grow from there. Come on, people. Sit your ass down and get your shit together. Thank you. This is Common Sense by Eric Foster. Please follow me on Substack as well as follow me on Apple Podcasts as I try to bring common sense consideration to our volatile, frenetic world that we're living in right now. Because patience is key. Nothing is needs a spastic response. Have a blessed day, everybody, and thank you.